Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I think at this point we should get going. We have a lot to talk about. I'm Marcy Young. This is my husband, Ira.
Hello.
We are Park members. I am the chair of Park Family Connection, and we have also been a Park Day Camp family for many, many summers. And so I really appreciated some words that Susie said a couple of days ago, Susie Ratner. She said that really tonight is about the future of Park for young families. We're talking about what our building is going to look like. Where are we going to congregate? Where are we going to celebrate? Where are we going to learn? And in addition to that, where are we going to spend our summers? And I feel so fortunate that to be part of such a wonderful group that is growing in this way. We're reviving our camp, and we are giving everyone a much larger and expansive place to be together. So with that, I want to let Susie kind of go through really where our plans are at for the synagogue, for the construction that will not affect camp. So with that, here is our board president, Susie Ratner.
Oh, thank you so much. That was an absolutely pitch perfect introduction to the whole tone of what we're trying to do. And I'm really so delighted to be with everybody. And I want everybody to feel free to ask me any questions, and I'll just dodge them and have the rabbi and steward answer them. No, I will answer any questions. But Marcy's right. This is about the future. And we just want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to see our plans, comment on our plans, give input. We've done that all along. I'm going to show you, for those of you who haven't seen it, this will be new, but for those of you who have seen it, this is the earliest iteration of an animation that the architects prepared. Due to our crazy circumstances of the last year and a half, we have done pretty much everything virtually. So this is a virtual walkthrough of what the overall footprint of the building will be like. And I don't know who's going to do the actual, who's putting it up on the screen? Is that you, Allison?
Yep, I'll take care of it, Susie. Just tell me when to pause, and
Okay.
and I'll do that. So should I go ahead and start sharing the animation? Okay.
Well, sure, go ahead. We're going to start by showing this very short animation to give you an idea of the future starting for the high holidays. So this is the beginning, and we're going to start by really showing you just an overview of what the whole thing looks like, including the addition. So this is the helicopter view. You're going to see a flyover of the entire thing. Allison, if you can move your cursor, and you can keep going, but when you get to the new building, just stop for half a second on that.
Okay.
So everybody understands where we are. Okay, so we could stop for a second. And to the right is the sanctuary, which we are altering, and you'll see how we're altering that. In between the new addition, which is the new building that Allison's cursor is going to go to, and the sanctuary is going to be a beautiful new plaza. We've hired landscape architects. It's going to be a lovely place to sit, to talk, and to be an outside connector between the two buildings. Keep going. I don't want to take up too much time because I want to make sure there's plenty of time for questions. They're going to take us right up to the new building. This is a new road that we're building in front of this addition. You'll notice something different about the portico here, which is that it's completely covered, so that there's going to be space for drop-off. If you're having an event, there'll be a space for valet parking. There's new handicap parking to the right of this. To the left, towards further east, is a new, smaller parking lot. So both parking lots will accommodate the building. You can get from the inside all the way through from the old part, and you can get into this new part. Keep going. I think now they're gonna take us back to, after they take us around, this is the big new addition, which is our community hall, and they're going to take us back, walking in the way you're used to. Rabbi Skoff, Stewart, just jump in if I've left something out. But I think all of you are very familiar with this entry. And now what they're going to do is take us in and take us right by the sanctuary over to the end of where the men's club boardroom currently is. And that's going to be changed. They're going to take us in, and it's going to become a small chapel. And if you move up towards the ark, it's a beautifully designed ark. A lot of glass, light going through it. You can see that the seats aren't permanent because, first of all, we can accommodate a very small group or a larger group. It seats about 70 people. And then if we're having a large service, we can still open the wall like we always have. And these seats can be turned to face into the sanctuary. You can keep going. And if anybody wants to jump in and ask a question, we'll just stop. So that's sort of a quick view of that. And now they're going to take you into the sanctuary, which at the moment the ark looks exactly the same. We are making a few changes. We're going to change the angle of the ark because instead of a social hall, we're going to even up the ceiling and make an expanded sanctuary that befits our main sanctuary. If you pause for 1 second here, we had an interesting challenge, and the architects have been very sensitive to this, and our clergy and our staff have really spent a lot of time thinking about this. There's something wonderfully cozy about our sanctuary as it exists, and we didn't want to lose that. And yet we wanted to have a space that could accommodate a large group of people. So we will have a certain number of fixed seats where you won't feel lost. And we can add seats so that when the wall between the chapel and the sanctuary is open, we really can seat close to 500 people. But for normal, regular services, we're in the high 200s, I believe. Am I right, Rabbi?
Yeah, I mean, we're
sort of playing around with how many fixed seats make sense so that we retain intimacy and can still provide the feeling of a main sanctuary. Okay, I asked the rabbi, then I didn't give a chance to say anything. It's a good technique, right? What I can say about the bima, hold on 1 sec. The bima is going to be reoriented, and we're going to add one step because we all know from being at Rabbi Skoff's services, his intimacy and connection to the congregation is quite close. And we have people who love that. He loves that. We love that. So that's not going to change. But it's going to be elevated a little bit because the sanctuary is bigger and we want to make sure everybody can see. And I think one of the beauties of the evening of the ceiling is that for those of you who have sat in seats in the social hall when it's for a service, you're sort of there, but not there. You're sort of part of the service and not part of the service. Everybody's going to feel part of this service. Okay, we can keep going. You're going to turn left towards the school building, but instead of going to the school wing, there is a new gallery that is going to connect the old building to the new building. And this gallery is wide, and we're going to display artwork. And this is going to bring us into our new area. Right here is what we're calling the plaza foyer. And as you can see, you can go right out to the plaza and you can see all the way across to where the new road and the new entrance is. And now they're going to take us around into the new area. And the architects have designed, you can see the Stars of David on the screening, which there's a wall screening the plaza and this metalwork grill, which reminds all of us of our Cleveland Heights campus. As we go in here, if you pause for 1 second, Allison, this is a glass light-filled room. This is our veranda, lobby, loggia. We live in Cleveland, and we're all a little bit light starved. Light will be pouring into this at all times. And this is a very large space that can be divided. You see Allison, can you show move the cursor to where the glass wall moves down on that upper piece of glass that's in the middle? That can come all the way down, and we can have 2 rooms. So you could have a lunch in there, you could have a meeting there, you could have a smaller affair there. But if you were having a wedding for 350 people, this is a pre-function area, and it can hold that many people. So we've looked at every space. How can it be used flexibly? Where that group of seating is at the back, we're calling it a family area. So it's just a place to sit, where you can be with your kids, or people can go out and talk, or on a day when it's not a religious service and you're there anyways, it can be a nice, comfortable seating area. We can keep going. The trees it's going to be beautifully landscaped. This does not reflect the landscaping, but it's going to be a very nice, large plaza. And now they're going to take us out onto it, give you some feeling for what it might be like to be on it. And we're going to put benches so people can sit and talk. That wall at the back is a feature wall of some sort. We're hoping to have recognition on that wall for people who've donated to the campaign. You can keep going. Now you're going to see one of my favorite features. This is our indoor-outdoor space. At that part of the loggia, the doors fold open, and you can have a space that is both inside and outside. We can have a small service, you can have a wedding, you can have a wedding and it gets inclement and you can move inside, you can have half inside, half outside. And I think it's a very special room for an event, and also for any kind of religious activities. Kids, services, parties, holidays. We can keep going. And what we're looking at is the new, we're going to go right into the loggia again, and then into the new room, our new community room, which can be used for either a party or a service. You can see there are windows all the way around. That clear story windows is going to be another source of light. And you can see the big window at the end. This is set up for service. And as we go around, you'll see the seats. We're using a retractable seating system. I want to tell you that we went and looked at them. We went and looked at, these systems have been around for years and years and years. We went and we sat in the seats. There were 3 companies. We decided on the company that really has had the most experience. And our criteria were seats have to be comfortable. People have to be able to get up and down, because we do that a lot in a service. People need to be able to go by each other, because we do that in a service. And we need a place for prayer books. And the company's been wonderful working with us. But what you'll see as you go around, keep going. The ark is built into the wall. We're going to have a portable bima. And as you can see, there's going to be light all the way around, except on the wall as we come in. And that was just a recent decision from the loggia. I always say to Rabbi Skoff, this is not a service. Look at all these people on their phones. This will not happen at Park Synagogue.
Not at Park Synagogue, no.
Right, not at Park Synagogue. Okay, stop for a second. This is an important view. The windows at the back, the Agam panels are going to be put there. The Agam panels that are on the bridge in Cleveland Heights. We've done a lot of thinking about what from Cleveland Heights we can bring. As you all know, we're hoping to preserve the Mendelssohn Sanctuary and be able to use it for our holidays. But we want to integrate old into new as we go towards the future. So that's one piece that I think will be just a beautiful feature piece in the room. There'll be aisles on either side of this. And then there's a corridor behind the seats, so that should you need to leave, you don't have to walk right in front of your rabbi, which is a good plan. Okay, keep going.
What is this?
And now you're going to quickly see it set up for a party. Not a good party planner, no tablecloths, nothing. But that is 350 people with a dance floor. So that's our tour. And I tried to keep it in reasonable limits. So I'm open to any question. That's what the future looks like in terms of building at Park Synagogue. What the future is going to look like in terms of programming, a lot of it you already know. But it's also going to give us a lot of opportunities for a lot of different activities. Any questions? I always feel when people don't have questions, I've numbed them. Did I miss something, Stuart, Rabbi?
No, the point I wanted to add to Susie's presentation is just that this is in every way a 21st century synagogue. This is a 21st century synagogue in terms of the technology. It's a 21st century synagogue in terms of the multi-purpose nature of the rooms. It's a 21st century synagogue in the sense that accessibility and coziness and I'm not going to say that every service is automatically informal. You know, there are different moods to different service, but the fallback position, I mean, in all honesty, the fallback position at Park Main all these years has been one of more formality. Just that's the way the rooms were set up, with spaces that distanced you from the leader of the service, et cetera. And the fallback position of this synagogue is accessibility, is being able to reach out either to your neighbor or to the leader of the service, just in terms of the way it's set up. So in all those ways, this is, as in every generation, we stand on the shoulders of those who came before us, and we also learn from them. And the style of the way people discover their Judaism has changed over the years. And so this building allows people to feel that whether it's from whatever point in the sanctuary they're seated, that they have accessibility, or any room or any space they're in a classroom, that they have accessibility, or the public spaces where you can meet other people who you don't know and you may become part of their community. The overall theme running through this is fluidity and accessibility, and that shows itself in many of the examples that Susie just mentioned, as well as other things. And I'm very excited about it. I think it'll allow us to fulfill even more of the potential that we have in some of our programs, knowing that, yes, we can have the same space to be used for 30 seats or 70 seats, whether it's in the chapel or a couple of hundred to 500 in the sanctuary, and in every other room. There's that ability to use it for a specific function and a specific mood that's being created. So it's a very exciting. It's been part of Park Synagogue's theme for many years, and that is that there's empowerment of the congregation, and there's interweaving of the congregants into the service or into various programs, and now the architecture represents that.
This is always a good idea to let the rabbi say a few words. Well said. I'd like to underscore that we also, Rabbi makes a very important point in terms of it being for the next century. And again, very future oriented. We're doing a lot with technology, and we would be crazy not to, but we're thinking of many, many ways to be technologically advanced as well. So in that new room, which by the way, when the seats are down, seats close to 800 people for a service. The audiovisual, there'll be big screens. So should you want to have a bar mitzvah there, it will really be a state-of-the-art room. We're assuming other people are really going to want to use this. We actually think it's probably going to be the nicest space in town, because it offers so much flexibility. But I think Rabbi Skoff's point is the main one. This is a place where you guys, the young families, can really feel comfortable and have your needs met in a variety of ways. And we've just been looking at that from soup to nuts. You know, obviously we're making accommodations for all the ages and all the stages in our congregation, but you guys are our future. So you've been in our minds as we work with the architects. So are there any questions?
If there are any questions about a specific program before we move on to the camp, which I know is a significant part of the evening, if there are some specific questions that might be of particular interest to your family or something that's coming up on your personal family calendar, then that might be expressed privately if need be, or through a phone call, and we would be happy to sit down and discuss it with you in the office. In case it's hard to touch upon everyone's departure point for their own interconnection with the synagogue, in this format. But if you have a particular either concern or interest, then please, by all means, give us a call.
And we're going to keep you posted as things develop through the construction. We're going to try to figure out different ways to reach out to the congregation to make sure that everybody feels part of this project, because that's the main thing. Yeah. This is not being done by just a small group of people. This is being done by all of us. So for those of you who supported the campaign, thank you very much. But this whole project is one of community. So thank you. Now I'll be quiet.
Thank you so much for going through that with us. I think that until you really see the renderings, the video, it's hard to conceptualize what I've been reading about, and I'm sure everyone else can agree. So thank you so much.
We want to welcome Mike Rubin, who I can honestly say, and this is really one of the reasons why people come back to Park Synagogue Day Camp. Mike Rubin is the dean of directors in this city. I mean, when you want a solid organization, when you want a solid cause, when you want a solid camp, first you look at the experience. And simply, I mean, it's right there on paper for anyone to know. And Mike Rubin has been leading this day camp for 25 years. And during those 25 years, this is somebody people have come to rely on, not only as a great evaluator of talent and the ability to provide continuity the camp, and also to mix the two, to both give everyone the experience that he has, as well as continuing to invigorate the camp with quote young blood, so to speak, in terms of new people that have now actually been campers and now become staff members. And it's been a wonderful blend of the experience and the innovation. So one thing we're very proud of all these years is Mike and the constancy and the consistency. Again, it's one of the things you have at Park in this area, in many of our areas, a great deal of consistency, faces you get to know and faces that you get to trust. And that's certainly true of the day camp. Mike coaches football, so you are the George Hallis. You are the George Hallis of the camping. So George Hallis was a football coach for many, many years, and yet he never got old. He always stayed young with his players. So we're very happy that Mike is here. I will just add that I have observed a number of staff training weeks. And it is very, very impressive because you see exactly what the values are during staff week. Kids' safety is A1, top of the list. If you see Mike Rubin at 10:30 in the morning on a rain day where everyone's not in their normal locations, because obviously we count on good weather most of the time, he will know what classroom your child is in. He will know what hallway and what program he or she, your child, is in. And if, of course, you see him at 2:30 in the afternoon, he's simply going to know where everyone is. And that is something that people count on. So it's safety, it's a continuity, and it's the seamless connection between a synagogue community and the camp community. The kids simply get used to seeing synagogue people, synagogue leaders around. It simply becomes part of their camp program through the innovation that Mike's brought in terms of the programming and the safety of the kids. It's really my pleasure to say these are the values that have continued with the Park Day Camp. And Mike, I'm very happy that you're here this summer, and I'm happy to introduce you. Mike, can I just add one thing? I'm sorry. I want you to look at your screens, everybody. Do you see that man? Can you see? Are you seeing a picture on your screen?
Yes.
That is Mike Rubin on the right when he started when he started becoming the director of Park Day Camp. Man, that's him on the right. He's not on the left. Mike is on the right. And that was the first summer at Park Day Camp. Mike, take it away.
Oh, that's a great picture. Bring back good memories. And congratulations to Susie and Stuart and you. And I have not seen that video. And that's very impressive. And very privileged to be, a small part of Park Synagogue. Thank you all for taking the time. We're just going to talk for a couple minutes. I think most people are here to ask questions. And I'm going to introduce Shelby, a very valuable up-and-coming superstar at our camp, but she's going to share what I think is the best thing about Park Day Camp, Shabbat. It is a privilege to be the director of Park Day Camp since 1996. It does make you feel old when kids you had have kids who attend the camp, but it is immense responsibility, and I take that very seriously. I always say to my staff, you have to pretend these are your kids who are here. You have to make sure that these kids are taken care of like you want your kids to take care of. So we're just going to make some brief comments. Shelby will chime in, and then we're going to open up for questions because we encourage that. We know we're going to have a great year. We've done this long enough. We know whatever hypothetical things could come up will not impede Park Day Camp from doing great things. I help put kids in the car at the end of the day. Joel meets kids at the car, takes your name, says hello to you, and then they come up to me and we put them in, and I always get to hear the parents, and inevitably the question is, how was your day, Bobby? And we like to hear it was the best day ever until the next day. If we hear it was okay, it was pretty good, we do pull the counselor aside and say, how come Frank or Bobby's day was pretty good? What did we not do right? We're on a continually improvement plan every day to make sure that our camp meets the needs of our campers and our parents. Best day ever, that's what we want to hear. Our culture is pretty simple. We're an old school camp. Some people, call us traditional. I like that about our camp. We don't show movies. We don't do video games. The picture that the rabbi surprised me with was Rabbi Cohn, who actually was the brains behind Park Day Camp in the 1940s. And Rabbi Cohn and Rabbi Skoff have been great mentors to me to let me know that the culture of Park Day Camp should be this way. And we have tried to meet their expectations. So we don't do movies. We go outside. We sweat. We play baseball, we swim. We want to go outside and run around. I'm a high school teacher during the school year. And if you have any teenagers at home, you know that teenagers spend all day on computers and video games and Snapchat and all this other technology. We do not allow that at Park Day Camp. We want an old school, run around, sweat, have fun, be tired, eat a good hot kosher lunch, then go home and go to bed and come back and do the whole thing all over again. Rabbi Cohn and Rabbi Skoff impressed on me when I interviewed back in the 90s, Jewish values, kindness, empathy. Rabbi Skoff told me something that I've tried to do for the past 25 years. He said, do not focus on the popular kids. Do not focus on the athletic kids, the kid who's not athletic, the kid who might not be the coolest kid in camp. He deserves the same attention, respect, and love that the other kids get. And we try to do that. And Shelby could tell you, we always put in our little counselor packet a little story the rabbi gave me 25 years ago that talks about being kind to the kid on the bench, the kid who's not a star football player. And I think that's important. We want your kids to go home happy, safe. We want them to feel that Park Day Camp is not babysitting, it's an experience for the rest of their lives. I think Park Day Camp is successful because of three people. Joel Klein, I'm sure many of you know, Joel Klein trained me in 1996. and he's been with me for over 2 decades. He has never missed a day of camp, not one. He is totally committed to our project. Debbie Friedman, who I'm sure all of you know, is a local legend in Cleveland Hebrew School, preschool. She's over at Schechter. Everywhere I go, when I tell them I'm Park Day Camp, they don't ask about me. They don't ask about Joel. They ask about Debbie. She does have a very unique perspective that she brings to the camp of empathy and kindness. In a way, we have her coach our counselors to be better people. You know, teenagers are teenagers, but we want them to be park people. We want them to do things the right way. And one thing I can assure you is that I'm in charge of accountability. And our counselors come to work on time. Our counselors stay off their phones. They are the best trained counselors in Cleveland. And I could say that without any reservation. And last, Shelby, who I kind of recognize talent. So one of the few skills I have is I recognized Shelby early on that she was going to be a star. And I just knew that because of her love for the kids, going above and beyond, working during the school year for Park Day Camp. And she's got so much love for Park Day Camp that with Joel, Debbie, and Shelby, running Park Day Camp's a pretty easy gig because we're surrounded by really outstanding people who have so much talent that bring it to the fore. And I would like to let Shelby tell you about our Shabbat activity, because if you've never seen it, I think it is what differentiates us from everybody else. Shelby?
Yes, thank you, Mike. I'll try and make it quick because I know you guys have questions. So, Mike said to me, he called me the other day and he said, for this Zoom meeting, what's something really special about camp that we can talk about? What's so special about Park Day Camp? And honestly, that's a question I've asked myself because I'm a teacher, I'm a cheerleader, I'm a coach, but the one thing that I look forward to constantly, the place that I think is the most special place that I've ever been a part of is Park Day Camp. So I've asked myself, what is it? What makes it so special? And one of the things that comes to mind, because again, I want to be short and I could talk about a lot of reasons why camp is special. But a no-brainer to me was our weekly Shabbat sessions. So like Mike said, we offer hot kosher lunches every day. And on Fridays, we have challah, we have grape juice, and, we do the Jewish prayers. And it's a really great way to, install those values into our campers. And after that, we have an amazing music teacher who comes in, from Las Vegas, Nevada, and he leads us in a song session. And no one is sitting in their chairs. Every single person, every single counselor, every single camper is up and they're screaming and they're dancing and they're singing. And they're just so special. And my mom actually, she would come in sometimes to watch, and she worked for Park Day Camp years ago. And, she tells me, you can feel it in the air that everyone just loves it there. There's something in the air. There's something in the atmosphere. Everyone's just so happy. And that's all the time. But really, Shabbat is a special time when the entire camp is together and we can all just, celebrate the weekend, celebrate camp, celebrate ourselves. And I just think that is one of the things of many that makes it extremely special.
Do we take questions now?
I think so.
Okay. Anybody would like to, if it's possible for you not only to unmute with a question, but to unscreen, that way we can kind of look at each other. Hi, Michael.
Good evening, Rabbi, and
Hi.
Good evening, attendees. Sorry, a little late to the party here. Just cleaning up from dinner. May I say something to the audience?
Yes.
Depends.
Excellent. So, for those who don't know me, I'm Michael Holub. I am involved in the men's club at Park, and my son Jordan attended Park Day Camp for 4 years. He's now aged out of it, and when we were discussing recently what he might do next summer, he said, well, maybe I'll be a counselor at Park Day Camp. He had a blast. Every day we came and took him and picked him up. I was outside. I swam. I did this. I was helping somebody. He made lots of friends. And that's the real, what I call meat of the essence of being in a Jewish day camp. He made friends. He connected. He practices Judaism. He wants to now come work there. So if Mike Rubin will have him, you'll see him around and he'll be in charge, taking care of your kids. and it's just a very positive experience. So,
Michael,
Thank
you
you.
can, Michael, you can keep talking as long as you like, Michael. Keep
Oh,
talking.
okay.
That's very good.
Seriously, no, very seriously. I know it's a big decision. There's a lot of camps out there. They're all great. They all do a lot of good things. I am the product of a Jewish day camp in my childhood. I found it very, very worthwhile and useful. And it's what keeps me an involved and engaged Jew here in Cleveland. I did not go to camp here in Cleveland. I'm not from this area. Nevertheless, we found that this was something that our son needed, and he has responded very well to it. So please give us very strong consideration to Park Day Camp.
Thank you.
Thanks for saying that, Mike.
It's the truth.
Thank you. It looks like we have a question in the chat, which we will get to in 1 second. Feel free to put your questions in the chat and we can read through those. But I also see that Ryan Bilsky has his hand raised. So we'll start with him. Thank you.
Hi there. How you guys doing?
Okay.
Good evening.
So you have to excuse my ignorance. I haven't had a chance to do much research on Park Day Camp or the program, but I wanted to see if you can talk a little bit about the size of the program, how many kids, talk a little bit about like the hours of the program, how many groups are there per age group, how many kids do a group, that sort of thing.
Yes, thank you for the question. It varies. Since I've been there, we've been in Cleveland Heights, we've been over at the Ratner building, and we've been now, of course, at our beautiful campus. And we've been anywhere from 100 to 235 people through the years. It does vary with that. Our day is 9 to 4. And since we are pretty accountable and we find being on time is important, when we say 9 o'clock, literally Shelby starts Pledge of Allegiance at 9 o'clock. We like to stay on time and organized, because being on time and organized cuts down on any kind of problems, behavior problems, I want to go home problems. The kids are active from 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock. And I think that's really important for us, because there is no downtime. Being an educator and an ex-football coach, I could tell you when kids have free time and they're just sitting around, that's when problems start. When kids are going from one activity to another on the clock, we tend to have very few problems. We keep really good care of the kids and we stay on schedule. And I just want to touch on what Mr. Holub said real quick, because I did forget to mention, I'm one of the few people who work at Park Day Camp who didn't attend. Almost my entire staff went to Park Day Camp, from Joel Klein to the Rabbi's children, Rabbi Marcus's children, Gotti's children, and most of my staff. And I think that does tell you that we hire people, we call it the Park way, that we want people to treat people a certain way and have a work ethic that maybe other places don't demand of their people, but we do. And because of that, we get a really outstanding staff. It's not for everybody, but for people who could get through our training and stay with us, it is a great job and it's really a lifetime of memories. So I just want to make sure that we did mention that.
And Mike, can I add to, as for groups and sizes, you know, my years as a counselor, I've had anywhere between probably 9 and 17 kids. And it's really just, it does vary, but something that's really special about the groups is no matter the size, the counselors have such a relationship with their kids where they can schedule their day catered to what their kids like. So, you know, they are split up by age group and the counselors really get to know, you know, what do these kids like? Oh, this group really likes crafts. We're going to incorporate that. So the size of the group really just has to do with, you know, what the kids are interested in so that the counselors can cater to their interests and their needs.
Yeah, and just to build on that, Shelby, thank you. We do have a 5-to-1 ratio, 5 campers to 1, which is half of what the state demands, because we find it's much better to have too many counselors so nobody falls through the cracks. Our counselors walk the kids to the bathroom. We have what's called the park goose walk, where there's a counselor in front, somebody in the middle, somebody at the end. That way, nobody accidentally falls down the stairs or anything like that. It just keeps everything in line and makes sure that everyone is safe. So at the 5-to-1 ratio in the kindergarten, we actually have less than a 5-to-1 ratio because those kids need a little more help getting their shoes on and changing for swimming and all that good stuff. So whatever size of the camp is, we always run a great camp, and we always make it where the counselors are 5-to-1. So if we have 200 people, we'll have a certain amount of counselors. And if we have 150 people, we'll have a little less counselors.
Got it. All right. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for the question, and thanks for going through it. We have a question in the chat. Have you considered requiring vaccinations for both staff and campers?
Yes, that's a question that I thought would come up, and we will absolutely have our counselors vaccinated. As far as the kids go, Park is fortunate. We have a lot of really smart people at the top, and we have doctors at UH and stuff that advise us. We certainly follow the CDC guidelines, and obviously things change. Every month there's a new variant or new whatever. So as far as mandating vaccinations for kids, we're going to certainly encourage that, because as a synagogue, we think that's important. But mandating it, that we're going to leave up to the experts, who are a lot smarter than I am, to decide whether it's Dr. Fauci, the CDC, or the doctors at UH. We're going to follow the science, but the counselors, my staff, will be vaccinated because we think that's the right thing to do.
Great, thank you. Jay Geller looks like he has a question. Welcome, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So thank you for the presentation. Could you just walk us through what a typical day at Park Day Camp would look like, and then tell us about some of the activities and electives that the kids would have offered to them, please?
Absolutely. We have things called specialties that we schedule, that the office schedules, Shelby, Joel, myself, and Debbie Friedman, and we make a schedule, and then we leave blanks in the schedule during the day. So things that we do every day, we do swimming lessons in the morning. We do free swim in the afternoon. We have art twice a week, music twice a week, sports twice a week. Those are our specialties. And then the other parts of the day, that's the beauty of Park Day Camp. We don't try and fit your kid into our system. Let's say we have a second grade group of boys that are very athletic. Well, our counselors submit a schedule every week, and they're going to schedule more sports activities because it's a sporty group. If we have an artistic group, then our counselors are going to submit a schedule with those empty blocks that do more artistic activities. So that's really the great thing about us, is we're not set in stone. We don't have a schedule for the camp. We have certain things that we do on a daily basis, but the rest of the schedule, somebody like Shelby would design it based on the kid's age. The kindergarten kids are not going to be great at playing football, but the fifth grade boys are going to love playing football. So our counselors are trained, and each week they submit a new schedule to us, which, by the way, is put up on a whiteboard in my office. So if you came in and said, hey, we have an emergency, we have to get out of town right now, I'm going to say, oh, your son's in third grade, and Frank is his counselor. He is right now in the art room. He'll be here in 3 minutes with his bag. That helps us. That makes me feel comfortable that we know where all 200, all 150 kids are from 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock without exception. And we make the schedule that fits each kid's group. And obviously there's some overlap. So kindergarten boys will do some activities with kindergarten girls. Our older kids will read stories to our younger kids. So we have a lot of flexibility, and that's why we hire really smart, motivated, adaptable people. And then we have really good people at the top who kind of funnel them into the right venues.
And if I could just add to Professor Geller, we're considering a unit in German history this summer, if you'd like to be involved.
Outstanding. I'm really pleased to hear that. Yeah, thank you.
All right, so I have a question, Mike, that I received about how, and maybe this is a question for Stuart or even Rabbi Skoff to answer, but how the camp will evolve around the construction that's happening with the new building.
Stuart, do you want to take it, or do you want?
Yeah, I just want to unmute. Yeah, I'll take that. So obviously that's, it's a question that we've looked very hard at, and we knew it would come up tonight. We've looked at the areas that the camp uses. They use, on inclement weather days, or even, just days for other activities, artistic. We have the entire school classrooms available to us. For outdoor sports, while part of the field has been taken up by the construction, we have over 2/3 of that field that is still untouched and available to us for activities. That's a field that's a little over an acre. So we have over 2/3 of an acre available to us for that. We have the pavilion. We can use the pavilion for activities. Obviously, on a rainy day, we can be under it. A place to get out of the sun, and also a place to probably have lunches a couple days a week. We have our pool. Our pool, while we've been closed the last 2 years, our pool has been maintained both of those summers by the same professional pool company that has maintained it for the last 20 plus years. We've already contracted with them for this coming summer. We have, what was I going to say? We have our kitchen. Our kitchen is under construction right now, but that's scheduled to be back in our hands by late March. Now, everybody, obviously, many of you have possibly built homes or remodeled homes, and things happen with construction schedules, but we monitor that very carefully. I just had a meeting this week with the owner of Marus Construction, as well as all his senior people, and they are assuring us that we are on schedule. There's a lot of supply chain issues which could affect certain things, but like in the kitchen, if there's a piece of equipment that isn't available, we'll have the rest of the kitchen available to us. If we needed to use a kosher caterer for a certain meal once a week, we have that available to us. So we do have what I would consider to be over 85% of the campus available to us. When you drive down Shaker and see all that construction going on, that's area that is not used by the day camp. In the past, that was our loading dock. And just hilly berm areas. So we have the majority of the campus available to us, and we've already been working with our construction company. They know we're going to have camp this summer, and so we're working on that scheduling, and it's being fine-tuned every week.
And most of all those construction areas are going to be very well defined and at a distance from the kids, and the kids will be safe. And I know that Mike will be heavily involved in just drawing up the appropriate spaces, the distances, but everything will be well defined, and it doesn't pose any danger.
Thank you. It looks like Erin Beard has a question. Erin?
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Hi, I'm just wondering, so we have an older daughter, she'll be going to 3rd grade. She went in kindergarten, loved Park, but just Park up to pre-K, possibly a pre-K program.
We lost some of the question, but your question was, will Park have a pre-K program at camp?
Correct. So I've been talking with a bunch of moms, and we're trying to figure out what to do with our kids who are going into pre-K. And be easier to have, obviously, our older one and our younger one be dropped off at the same camp. So we're just wondering if Park is considering doing a pre-K program.
Yes, we have discussed that, and we're not mandating that kids have to be 5 to go to Park Day Camp, because our experience tells us that we've had 4-year-olds who have been more mature than some of our 6-year-olds and vice versa. So I've already had 3 phone calls this past week about that question. And what I have told people is, listen, can your son or daughter maintain all day at Park Day Camp from 9 to 4? And if the answer is yes, we're happy to take them, because all we care about is they're having fun. What we don't want to have to do is call you at 2 o'clock and say, your son can't, make it for the whole day, because that causes stress for us, allows us to have to take a counselor out, take the kid to the office. You have to come pick them up. So what we do is rely on the parents. You obviously know your kids. And if you feel your son or daughter can manage to work at Park from the time you drop them off from 9 to 4, we're not going to have a hard schedule that says you must be 5 or going into kindergarten. Marcy, your son, if I remember right, went before he was 5, correct?
Yeah, he was in he started the summer before he went into pre-K. And it was the start of the best couple summers of his life. So yeah, he managed just fine, but he was also at, a full-time preschool / daycare program that whole year and years before it as well. And then he was going into pre-K at Mandel. So it was the summer before that. And he did great. And it led to him wanting to come back and cried very, very hard when I had to tell him that there was no Park Day Camp in 2020. No one tell him.
And I just want to add also, I'm currently a preschool teacher, and Debbie Friedman, teaches preschool. So we definitely have that background with that age children. And, of course, with Marcy's son, he was in our kindergarten group. If we have a lot of, children of that age that are, interested, and their parents are very confident that they would benefit from a summer at Park Day Camp, I can definitely see many children of that age being able to be in a group together, because again, our groups are based on what kids will, work best together.
And not only is Shelby and Debbie Friedman, of course, experts at preschool, Mike and I once attended preschool. So we're also very experienced.
So you're good, right?
I'm very experienced at being in preschool.
So I received another question. I wanted to make sure we can address it as well. Can you explain how this year will be different in the setting of COVID? For those of us who have kids who've gone in the past, we know how wonderful the program is, but are really wondering how this summer will be a safe experience for everyone.
As Allison, as far as COVID is concerned?
Yes, I think that's the question.
Well, again, the number one thing that's on my radar is safety, whether it's physical safety, the construction, whatever it is. That's kind of my forte, where I put my time and efforts. And we are going to follow exactly what the doctors, the science, the UH people that are members of Park tell us to do. I hope we're maskless. I think that makes camp better. I'm a high school teacher, and I've taught half the year with a mask on and half the year with a mask off. And I got to tell you, it's much better not to have a mask on when you're teaching all day. But if state of Ohio, the governor of Ohio, and UH are like, you guys should be masked, or you guys should maintain distance, or you guys should be washing stuff. The nice thing is the synagogue has unprecedented helped us this year and committed to Park Day Camp. And Stuart can tell you, because he knows better than I do, they've actually invested in like a disinfectant machine that could clean all the rooms and stuff. So Stuart has been proactive. God forbid we're still dealing with this COVID stuff next June 13th. We will be prepared for it. And whatever comes our way, we will meet it, because we have great people and full 100% support from Mrs. Ratner, Stuart, and the Rabbi. And with their help, I am 100% confident whatever challenges come up is not going to be a problem for Park Day Camp. And
sorry, I keep adding on, but with COVID changing constantly, it's hard to say exactly this is our set plan, COVID wise, just because we're constantly learning new information. So things naturally are just going to adjust. But again, Mike is the safety expert. So whatever, the recommendations are, whatever the standards for COVID are, we are going to match them to make sure that your children are as safe as possible.
And I'll just add to that, Mike. You mentioned this cleaning system. At the start of COVID, we purchased a Clorox Total 360 electrostatic sanitizing machine. It's the same type of equipment that's used in office buildings and schools. It was not an inexpensive piece of equipment. We put that order in, I think, April 1st, and we had a 12-week wait for it. But we use that machine constantly. We use it after our services. We will use that in classrooms during camp. We will use it to sanitize equipment and materials that the kids play with. So that'll be part of our daily cleaning system.
And I'm sorry, I forgot to ask the question, but one thing I wanted to add is we're very big on communication. So if things go one way and we change a protocol, we are going to tell you. Joel is going to contact you via email. Shelby, what's that fancy thing on the cell phone?
Remind.
Yeah, remind and all that stuff.
These folders.
We are going to be a constant contact because we feel too much information is better than not enough. We want parents to feel confident, like, hey, we heard there's an outbreak in Beechwood. What are you guys doing? We're going to be proactive and let you know, hey, we heard about it. Here's what we're doing. And we're going to let you guys know every step of the way because we want kids to be healthy, safe, and enjoy their summer. We don't want to deal with any kind of outbreaks. So we will do whatever humanly possible to make sure that things are good for everybody, staff included.
Mike, can you also talk a little bit more about registration and how it works? So for example, if somebody chooses the 8-week session, can they change later to a 6-week session? Do they, how does that work? And do you have one group per grade? I'm getting lots of questions about that specifically too. Like, are there co-ed groups or just boys and girls groups? So I know it's a multi-part question. So sorry about that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it does. And we very rarely mix the groups. Sometimes in kindergarten, if there's an odd number, one year we had like 47 kindergarten kids, but it was heavily male. So we had to, mix up a group that we would have 2 or 3. But literally every year it varies. I mean, I can tell you that every single year I've been there for 25 years, we've never had the same amount of people from year to year. Some year we have 25 4th graders. Some years we have 10. So we're going to keep the groups around 15 because we feel that's the best thing. And that reaches our 5-to-1 camper to counselor ratio, which we really like. But if we end up with 16 boys in 2nd grade, we're going to put 16 boys in there. If we end up with, 24, we will go 12 and 12. So we're very versatile in making the groups and doing that. We just want to make sure the ratio is good for us. Some years there's 45 kindergartners, some years there's 25. And we have no control over that, but we just react to it by hiring the right amount of staff to keep our ratios where they have to be. And Allison, was the other question about registration?
Yeah, how does that work? So because registration opens tomorrow, as we've been telling everybody, December 2nd. So once they register, how does that work? If things change in the next few months and they want to change their mind about coming for more weeks or less?
Yeah, they can always add weeks. We have a pay schedule that's actually better if you choose the 8 weeks up front because we do have to hire. And since we're one of the few camps that serves a hot kosher lunch, we have to do a lot of planning for that. And again, we like to have the right amount of lifeguards, the right amount of counselors. So because of that, it's better for us to know ahead of time. But what happens is a lot of our new families are unsure how things are going to be, and they sign up for 4 weeks. That's great. But you could add 2 more. You could add 4 more. It is a little bit more costly than signing up for the 8, but we understand if you're trying us out for 4 weeks and you're like, I'm not sure they're going to want to stay, I could tell you without reservation, and Shelby can concur, that 98% of our campers do want to stay. Very few of our campers ever decide 4 weeks is enough, but you have that option to add weeks. You could even add a week. Again, it's more costly. Obviously, the cheapest option is 8 weeks, second cheapest 6, third cheapest is 4, and we actually have a 2-week option for kids who go to overnight camp, who don't have the full experience at overnight for 4 or 6 weeks, and they come and end their summer with us for 2 weeks. So we're happy to take you, but it's always smarter to sign up for the cheapest option if money is a concern. But we will take them for the full 8 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever it is. And also, we failed to mention, we do have before and after care, which is very good for parents who both have jobs, a lot of people working downtown. So you can drop your kids off at 7:30 until 8:45. They'd be in aftercare for a nominal charge. And then also from 4:15 to 6. So we have camp and pre-camp from early in the day if you need that drop off, and then late up until 6 p.m.
Where do I sign up?
You're welcome. I'll even give you a discount, Rabbi.
I do have a few more questions. I know we are past the 9 o'clock time, and I know it's late for lots of parents, but if everyone's okay staying for a couple more minutes to hear, this is great information. And Mike, thank you for
Absolutely
answering all these great questions. The next question I received was, are kids set in the same group all of camp, or do they get mixed up over the many weeks of summer within their age level?
No, our goal is that the kids stay together. We like the familiarity with the counselors and the kids, and that they're together because they form these relationships. But the nice thing about our camp is they're not dropped off. The counselors go to the pool with them, go to art with them. They literally spend the entire day with them. And we like to keep the groups together. Now, if after 4 weeks, 8 out of 10 kids drop out to go to Camp Wise, then obviously we're not going to have a group of 2. So we will take those 2 boys and add them to the other group of 12 and do that. But that's a very rare occurrence. We always do what's best for the kids. Our goal and desire is that the kids stay with the same counselors and the same kids for the entire camp experience.
I also received a question. Any thoughts of making it a 9 or 10-week summer?
I have asked this every year. Thank you, whoever asked this, because it's always the last day, and I am sad about it. Mike?
No, not really. It is kind of a challenge. Remember Terry, a very important part of Park. Her group starts immediately after ours. I mean, literally the last day of camp, Joel, Debbie, I, and Shelby clean out the office. We're kind of like the circus. We leave town, and then Terry's people come into the rooms. And, you know, one thing that's unique about us is Shelby has a full-time job. I have a full-time job. Joel and Debbie. We're the one camp where all the people at the top of camp work full-time. And Debbie has to go back to school, and Joel goes back to the hospital, and I go back to the high school, and Shelby goes back to Orange. So we understand there are people who love Park and want to add weeks. I'm just not sure, and certainly not this year, that it's viable. Maybe in 2023, if there seems to be a big demand for us to go to 9 or 10 weeks, that's something we'd have to talk to Stuart and Terry about. And if they feel it's something that's workable for them, we're certainly willing to extend Park Day Camp. But I think for this year, that's not a possibility.
Also, I will add, we do send home a babysitting list every year because, you know, again, the kids love their counselors. You know, they want them to come home. They want them to come babysit them. And the counselors love it too. And so that is an option, you know, if you're needing care for extra weeks, or, you know, if you want to get out of the house, you want some fun activities for your kid. Well, even though I've tried, we can't, you know, make camp go year round. But, you know, in those weeks that you're working or your kids need something to do, you have the contact information for, you know, your child's counselors, and you can say, hey, you know, and I've done birthday parties where I do those with kids. So you can bring Park Day Camp anywhere, pretty much. You know, it's an 8-week camp, but it's really not. You can, when you have a Park Day Camp babysitter or working your birthday party, they bring the camp to you.
Another question. Are there any days camp will be closed besides July 4th?
Nope. 39 days of camp. Beautiful 39 days.
And it looks like Erin Shuller, you have your hand up. Erin, do you have a question?
Hi, sorry, I've been having to hop off and on, but I did just want to add on about the counselors, how Shelby and Lee, like they just make such a personal relationship with the kids. My son went, like Marcy was saying, a couple years when he was like 5, and I don't know, I don't remember exactly, but younger. And I mean, the boys literally cried at the end of the summer. I remember the counselors like coming to meet us over the summer at 4th of July, like, and they were teenagers, but like they came to like sit with our boys, and I just cannot say enough about them. And not to name names, but we were at a different Jewish camp last summer, and my daughter, who just turned 6, was having some issues kind of off and on throughout the summer. And I do feel like if she had had more of a personal relationship with the counselors, that it would have really, I think she would have had like a better experience. So that is just something I really value about Park Day Camp. And I think no one else has that. So I did just want to add that in.
And you mentioned Lee. I mean, Lee was my camper my first year.
And Garrett. Ethan is yelling at me to say Garrett.
Thank you, Ethan. Yeah, no, Garrett's awesome. Lee was my camper. And I mean, that really goes to show too, their relationships, you can't make this stuff up. I was just saying before, oh, I can tell these people I want their kids back, but it's the truth. I really do love these kids like my own. Lee was my camper when I was probably 13, and she's come back every year as a counselor. And, Jordan Holub wants to come back to be a counselor. So it really is, the connections that you make. You just want to keep coming back. You're not getting rid of me, Mike.
Mhm.
Are there any questions that we have not yet asked or answered? It's kind of a good opportunity for anybody if we miss something.
I'm just going to add a comment here, maybe as at least my last word, and that is that what you're hearing over and over again is personalization. Personalization. It's the rare camp that can both create a community and at the same time personalize it for every individual camp. And you just don't get that often enough. And that's exactly what it is. It's not personalization to the point of every camper for themselves. That's not what this is about. This is the building of a community. And at the same time, the personalizing for each child, whether it's a sports-minded or a non-sports-minded. You heard all the variations, a rain day or a not rain day. It's a rare combination, and we're proud to have it at Park.
Shelby, why don't you go ahead and you sent me a message about it, and I can forward it on to everybody afterwards. Or why don't you talk a little bit about what you sent in the chat?
Oh, yeah. So I just messaged, you can check us out on Facebook. It's just Park Day Camp. We also have a camp Instagram, Park Day Camp 1942. There's just, a few ads on there, some pictures from some videos from, past summers. And of course, you can message us on there if there are more questions. And I just think that's a really great way to kind of see some more things that we do at camp.
I think, Mike, didn't you meet your wife at camp? We all met our spouses at camp, didn't we? Mike? Here, I remember this is when I met my wife, Ilana, at camp. This is me and my wife. That's a real picture, guys. And that's at camp. All right. So we all,
I was a director then.
We all love camp from way back.
Wow, Rabbi Skoff, thank you for sharing. Sorry, to get one last question before we go. For a 6-week session, do the weeks have to be in order?
Have to? No. Recommended? Yes. We have a park calendar, certain things we do during the year that we know are important, and we space them out throughout. And also, again, because we do feed kids and we do order art supplies and do base our counselors on our stuff, we don't really want people, I'm coming the first week, skipping the second, coming the third, skipping the fourth. It does make it very hard to build those relationships. So if you have some kind of special circumstances, you're going to a bar mitzvah in California, and you're like, I really can't be there the second week, will you guys be flexible? Of course, we're going to meet your needs. But if it's just, you want to go every other week, that might be a little problematic from our end, because again, we're trying to schedule everything and order the right amount of food and supplies. And we have certain things throughout the year that we think are very important. Like we have a thing called blue and white games, which is probably the most popular thing we do. And that's during a certain 3 days of camp. we have a banquet during the last week. So we do like to have the kids there for certain things. So it is a little easier for everybody involved, including the kids, to actually go, the first 6 weeks, the last 6 weeks, whatever it is. But I'd be happy to talk to anyone who has unusual circumstances, because we are flexible and want to make, sure we meet your needs.
And thank you, Mike. And so you do have another question. If people do have more questions, you're the person to contact, and so we should pass along your contact information, your email. Is that the best way to reach you?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah. Sorry, Mike. Yeah.
Absolutely. Email me and I will get right back to you. I do work during the day, but in the afternoon, I'll get back to you and I could give you a call. I'd be happy to talk to you. I talked to a gentleman today who's got twin kindergarten boys, and he's very seriously thinking about coming to Park, and we encouraged him. It's the right place for him.
So we'll make sure that everybody on this call that has all of your contact information and can send you questions, or also the Facebook group that Shelby mentioned. We'll make sure that you guys have all of that information, and so that you know too, this call is going to be on our website. So if you want to go back to take a look at it later, we'll have a note about that we'll be sending out shortly too. So stay tuned.
I just want to thank everyone for coming and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks for sticking with us. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to the building and our camp, and I am really looking forward to a wonderful summer together and the future at Park.
Thank you, Park Family Connection. Have a good evening, everybody.